He's a real pioneer. These days, the internet is awash with game reviews, playthroughs and angry nerds writing about video games. But if you grew up in the 80s and the early 90s, you usually relied on getting your video game news from monthly magazines. Then, in 1993, Digitiser was born. Via teletext, you can actually read about games on the same television that you were playing them on. We're very pleased to welcome the daddy of, very much the daddy of, do you see? The daddy of Digitiser. His mum knows him as Paul Rose, but you might better know him as Mr Biffo. Can we give him a big round of applause? Give it a Can I just start by saying, do people still greet you as Mr Biffo?
I've got one friend, I think, calls me... No, two friends call me Biffo.
You've got two friends?
Yeah, they are my friends, that's it.
Okay. Should we actually start by saying why you adopted the name Mr Biffo?
It's not a very interesting story at all. I hope there's going to be some interesting stories. It's named after Biffo the bear. From the Beano. Is it the Beano or the Mangle? Who cares? I can't see a thing, that lights.
This is Stardom for you. Well, would you like me to call you Biff or Paul? Would you like Paul?
You can call me Darwin.
I'm going to go... okay, I'm going to go for Paul. What we've done, Paul, is we've put together 21 pictures to jog your memory about your illustrious career.
Is that because I'm 21 years old?
That's it, absolutely. So, Martin, please can we have picture number 1?
Oh!
So, who is this, and what effect did he have on your childhood?
That is Henry Horace, which was the first ZX Spectrum game I can remember playing.
So you were a Specky boy?
Oh yeah, very much so. I took the ST later, but yeah, Specky initially.
I see. Apart from playing games, did you ever program or even design any Spectrum games, Paul?
I remember trying to program some really simple text adventure at one point. And I used to design... no, actually I can't say this. No, I'm not going to say that. I designed a game for my friends that was terribly politically incorrect.
Really, Paul? Was it some kind of skit on Horace goes stalking, Paul? Was it?
Oh, yes. How the hell do you know that? God, I've become far more discreet as the years have gone on. But I've forgotten about the things that I've done previously that slip through.
Are you going to tell us that the game you designed, what was it actually called? Or would you like to talk us through the gameplay?
No. I bear in mind I was 12. Go look it up online.
If you want to know, then you can ask Paul later, okay? And so, clearly, you were a Spectrum boy, okay? Can we now go on to picture number 2? Paul, who is this? And did you dream about stroking her cat?
I don't believe so. That is teaser from Your Sinclair, if I remember. Do you know, I only would have got that because I happened to look at Your Sinclair website last night. I wouldn't have got it.
So is that how you normally spend Friday night, looking at Your Sinclair websites?
Actually, it might have been as well. I didn't sleep terribly well last night, so I'm going to blame that. My answers are a bit sluggish. First thing I'm going to check. This is how warm, Paul. I'm going to do this. First thing I saw this morning when I woke up was on Facebook. Was a friend of mine had linked to a photograph, or not a photograph, a video of a tortoise trying to have sex with a rollerboard. That was the first thing I saw, and then that led me to looking at Your Sinclair website.
Thank you for that link. I just want to ask you a little bit more about the Spectrum. I just wondered, were you involved in the playground wars of the 1980s? Did you have spats with the Commodore 64 owners at all?
No, I had mates who had the Commodore 64, and I was always kind of slightly envious of it because it looked, believe it or not, it looked better than the Spectrum, even though I kind of professed to be a Spectrum boy. It was more the BBC boys that I was not like, because they were posh, they were the posh boys, so the ones whose parents could afford a £300 computer in 1984, for pity's sake.
Yes, no one like BBC owners. Okay, so you've also got a background playing games, and we're interested in games. But can we move on to slide number 3? What has this organisation got to do with your future career at Digitiser?
The first job I ever had after leaving school was for Laptop Racing, and I designed the graphics for their in-house betting stores. And from there I learned to do teletext graphics, believe it or not.
I'm just intrigued about this art form of making images out of incredibly limited colour. Is it just from school days of scribbling on the back of your textbook and graph paper? How did you get into this?
Well, I got the job at my cousin worked there, and they were looking for a new graphics guy. I was 15 at the time when I got the job, and I had the job part-time, and then I dropped out of college and went there full-time. But it was, I don't know, how would I get the job? I had a portfolio. I remember in there was a pencil drawing of an attack and stuff, so it wasn't, I didn't demonstrate a skill at a young age for pixel art. I just liked drawing.
And I hear you also managed to get a job at Wembley Stadium, is that correct?
Yeah, so it was after I left, I'm going to long gone. I went to Wembley Stadium where I worked on the scoreboard doing goal animations and actually scoring matches. And that was one of the best jobs I've ever had, because there was literally no work to do other than on event days. So I used to entertain myself by, we had a scanner, or a digitiser, believe it or not.
A digitiser?
A digitiser. And I remember sticking my face under it one day and animating my own face, and then going out and seeing my face on the Wembley scoreboard. That was how I entertained myself, because there was no work to do. Other than avoid this guy I worked with called Dennis, who I was fairly convinced was a serial killer.
How did that pan out? What was he? Well, it wasn't Dennis Nielsen, was it?
Well, Dennis used to be at work before everyone else got there. There's only 3 of us who worked on the scoreboard, and he'd always been there long after everyone else had gone home, so we were convinced that he was living in the rafters of Wembley Stadium. And he had this retractable spike that he kept next to his computer. We never saw him use the spike, but on the desk next to him were all these marks where he clearly, at points when he was alone in the office, gone like that with the spike. So that was Dennis. Oh, and then he got arrested. But no, he went to court. He didn't turn up at work one day because he went to court. And so I told you I was going to do this. I can stop about the time Dennis went to court for someone's tribunal over someone he pulled out of a canal. And when he pulled him out of the canal, the person had a heart attack. And I said, so why were you involved? And he said, oh, because I had this. He told me this what I was doing. He said, I pulled him out of the canal, and I had a cigar case in my top pocket. It must have banged against his heart because he had a heart attack and died. That was Dennis. Anyway, so.
I think we're all getting a little insight in where you came up with some of the characters that later appeared in Digitiser. And we are virtually on that place. Can we go to the next photo, please? So I'm assuming that this is a blind date you arranged through Tinder, possibly. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Donny Osmond.
Would you like to tell us who the chap sitting next to you is, and why he's an important part of the Digitiser story?
That's Tim Moore, who some of you might know better as Mr Hares, who he was, when I came to work at Teletext, originally I was just a graphics guy, and Tim was writing a page for video games, and I happened to suggest to the boss, oh, what you need is an actual magazine or a whole section for games. And they said, right, fine, you can write it with Tim. Clearly they didn't give that enough work to do. And yeah, so we wrote that together. Unfortunately, we were probably the 2 worst people they could have put together. Imaginable, so we just egged each other on to misbehave and put these things.
So what did you make of this chap when you first met him? Because I think he was older than you. No offence, right? You told me that he dressed a lot better than you. So what were you a little bit intimidated at first?
Yeah, Tim's, I don't know, about 8 years older than me, and he was really he doesn't look at that photo, but he was cool, and he was already a professional journalist at that point, and I'd never written anything, so I wouldn't say I was intimidated by him, but I certainly looked up to him, and I feel, at least initially, I kind of aped his writing style, and that's how I learned to write.
Thank you. Our next picture does take us to the start of Digitiser. Now, Digitiser started in January 1993. We couldn't find any images from there, apparently on YouTube now. And this is you kind of looking back at the start. So I suppose the first thing I want to ask you, Paul, is that moment, I believe on January the 1st, 1993, when you saw your words up on screen. Did you feel proud, or was it just another day in the office?
Yeah, it was weird because strangely to be a fan of, but I was a fan of Oracle before I came to work at Teletext. They used to have a section on there called Buzz, which was a teenage section that my mates and I used to ring up and leave a message on an answer machine. This before email and the like, and they'd pluck out the best messages and put them on there. I remember being really proud when I had one of my messages put on Buzz and Oracle. So yeah, I was quite proud actually. It was weird, having something that kind of went out to the nation.
Now, I'm going to pick up the going out to the nation. By the way, for those of you looking at this going, what the hell is that? Our younger viewers, is that Teletext is like an information service that you can access through your tech. Right? I've summed that up pretty much.
Yes, there's not going to be anyone young enough in the audience. I'm not that I can see anyone in the audience because of that light.
I'm flattered.
There could be no one there.
Okay, so what I'm interested in is that you wouldn't have known how many people were reading this when you first started putting it out. Did you assume that it was no one, or your mum, possibly your mates?
It took us by surprise. We never really had a sense of how popular it was ever until the end, because we would get told it was, I don't know, 1.5 million people a week or something like that, and that was just an arbitrary figure. It wasn't like we kind of would be doing teletext in front of an audience of 1.5 million people in Wembley Stadium or something. That would be interesting. Digitiser live.
I'm sure you do that now. Well, we're sort of doing it now, aren't we? The other thing I'm interested in is with teletext, you put all whatever you had written, and then it would just be gone the next day. And maybe this is an appropriate time to thank a chap called Ant. If you're in the audience, Ant, please introduce yourself afterwards. Ant, whoever he is, has archived well over 100 editions of Digitiser through the kind of mid-90s, and it was thanks to him that we've got these. But normally you would have put this page up, and then it would have been gone the next day or the day after that. And I wondered whether the fact that it was not permanent, did you sense there was a real freedom that you could write what the hell you want, because it's gone, no one ever referred to it?
I don't know if that's what. I don't think it felt like freedom as such. The fact that it was disposable, I don't know, who knows. I always had a theory that the fact that it was never archived and people couldn't go back is why it was remembered seemingly so fondly, because they couldn't remember actually that probably it was crap sometimes. It's like when Monty Python kind of came out on video and you realised that kind of only about 10% of it was any good.
That is an interesting analogy. Anyway, so we started in 1993 and almost immediately we start to piss people off. And I think your first target, can I have the next slide please, was Amiga owners. Paul, what have you got against the Amiga?
Well, nothing really. I don't know, the Amiga, I was actually just saying to Martin that I was probably the worst person to kind of work in an industry that was revolving around technology, because I'm a complete lover, I'm a complete technophobe. And I think that the Amiga just seemed like too much faff for me. It had like kind of more buttons and you had to load things on it. So we initially wanted to just focus on consoles, and then of course the letters started coming in because our predecessor on Oracle had covered the Amiga quite extensively. And then that just made us so self-sabotaging. So when people complain, I just end up digging my heels in and kind of being more kind of...
Can I just say, no time you dealt with this, right? When someone's complaining about the lack of Amiga coverage, it's certain Amiga owners who show themselves up as being insecure, paranoid idiots. So clearly you were trying to calm things down, Paul.
Yeah, I'm not proud of that. That's like kind of... I'm a poor guy. Oh, Carl? Carl is a guy, yeah. It is Carl. Poor Carl, you know, he writes in, you know, we're kind of trying to chase an audience, and he kind of writes in saying that we're not happy with it, and he gets called a paranoid, insecure idiot.
Can I just say, you look genuinely remorseful.
I kind of am. We were so rude to people. It was...
Why do you think you were so rude? Is that just, you know, the arrogance of youth, possibly?
Yeah, partly. And probably it's probably part of that kind of internet effect where, you know, you're behind a screen and, yeah, the difference was we were kind of going out to 1.5 million people and they couldn't respond back by trolling us and stuff, and we could just call them paranoid, insecure idiots and not get any comeback.
You also managed to offend none other than Noel Edmonds. Please can you tell us the bizarre story of how you managed to get Mr Swapshop into the pages of the Sun, I believe?
Well, it wasn't actually Noel that we were upset, it was the British Epilepsy Association. But this is something like in like our third week of being on air. We put up some stupid story about about how Street Fighter, you know, the headline was Street Fighter is out and now you two get epilepsy or something. It wasn't like that witty or that bad.
It's all pig by reviewing the games. I mean, what?
I mean, it tended to be me that came up with the characters because I did the graphics. So, but then when it came to so I draw pictures out, I suppose I wanted to draw a picture of it, and then we'd bounce the text back and forth, so he'd write a draft, do a draft. That makes it sound more involved and like there was more thought gone into it than there actually was. You know, it was not. We'd just sit there sometimes next to each other, just making each other laugh as we wrote inappropriate things.
And just so that you certainly did make each other laugh for the first 4 years, but then I understand that after the first 4 years of Digitiser, that Tim got the sack, apparently due to the intervention of none other than bandana wearing cop David Perry. Please explain.
Yes. Well, as I remember this morning, where is he? There he is. I'm going to point at him. The man responsible for Tim's firing, or at least semi-responsible, is sat in the front row over there. Mr Andy Martin is now quite rightly holding his head in his hands. Yeah, I was off on paternity leave, mercifully, so I didn't get fired. But they'd been looking for an excuse to speak Tim and I up for a while, because they seemed to value me as the guy for the graphics and just thought Tim was somehow leading me astray. So I was off on paternity leave and, you know, I don't know, Operation Sack Tim kind of went into full force, and all they needed was an excuse. So we had a tip-off from an anonymous source who told us that Dave Perry had been carpeted for some misdemeanor or over the readership of his magazine. He had to back his idea up, and Tim put it out and dotted the door and was fired the next day. And he left quite spectacularly. The day I came back from paternity leave, and then Tim was giving his marching orders that morning, and we threw a cup of coffee over a computer, and he brilliantly he walked out and went, "Bye everyone, I've been fired."
Oh, I would have loved to be in the office that day. You mentioned Gossie the dog, which is a nice thing, because our next slide actually features Gossie on the right here, who this talking canine would often break kind of stories that were happening in the gaming world. One of the benefits, which again we take it for granted with the internet, is that whereas magazines might have a month's running time, you could hear stories and they could be up on the screen in 3 minutes. In a matter of minutes. So I just wondered, have you got any favourite stories that you managed to break? Any sort of, insider stories that appeared on Digitiser first?
Well, here's exclusive. A lot of the stories we put out, we made up. We just kept them vague enough that they probably were true. But the best one we got was we were sitting in the lobby of Sega HQ, and we overheard someone talking about how they were going to bundle Sonic and Knuckles with some new version of the Mega Drive. And it was literally just right time, right place. We put it out, and the Mark Maslowitz, the PR, just remembered something terrible I did to Mark Maslowitz.
Please share.
We were really upset him actually twice. We went to his office. Mark Maslows was the head of Sega's PR. Very nice guy. I don't know why we were horrible to him. And he showed us they had a God, what's it called? N64. Yes,
Ultra 64.
N64, so I was trying to remember which one they had. They had an N64 in the office. I remember we reported on that because he expressly told us not to do it. And we did. And then he left us alone in his office for about 5 minutes once. And he had a notebook on his desk and we opened it up and we drew a penis in it one of the later pages and then closed it.
Can I just say, it's funny that is that a lot of your humour, let's be honest, it's quite schoolboy-like. But the thing about it, funny is that both you and Tim were dads, right? Did that actually make you kind of be more juvenile, the fact that actually you were living quite responsible lives?
Well, I don't know if that made, I don't know, I just never grew up. I mean, equally as juvenile as I was kind of 10, 15, 20 years ago. I don't know, I mean, I'm not meant to talk about what I'm currently doing yet. But we did film the other week for the current YouTube channel for the thing that I'm involved in, a video of the living bum, which if any of you have seen what I'm currently writing, there's a character called the living bum. But we did film it. It's probably too disgusting to actually even put on the internet. It's so foul.
It's too disgusting to put on the internet. What, are you telling me there's filth on the internet? Dear Paul. Right, well, we heard it here first. Now, it's perhaps easy to forget with all these kind of memorable, surreal characters, is that you were actually writing about games. So this part of the tour, we're going to have a little quiz. Now, bearing in mind that you wrote reviews of games, they were all condemned gone. Let's just see if you remember any of the stuff you actually wrote. Okay, so we've got 3 games which we've got Paul's review on, and we've blanked out the game. So Paul, if you could just look at the screen, okay? So impresses with its sprites, which is superbly animated throughout. Background graphics are a bit rough and grainy, but that's more a fault of the Mega Drive. Or maybe you. Yes, it's your fault. Also, the game has its fair share of hidden moves and features, including a bizarre secret bowling game. Overall, it's a decent enough game, but perhaps lacking the long-term appeal of a Mortal Kombat 2 or Super Street Fighter 2. Happy now? Right, so for the honour of remembering what the hell you wrote back then, what game are you reviewing?
I haven't got a clue. That's terrible, isn't it? Oh, it's obviously a beat-em-up of some sort.
Oh, well done.
With a secret bowling game. I don't know, Primal Rage?
Oh my god! The correct answer is... Can we give him a round of applause for remembering what the hell he wrote? We have 2 more. Can I just add, if Paul gets them wrong, we will open it up to the audience. And I believe we have even got the prize actually as well. So let's hope you get this one wrong. Okay, the next one is on the Saturn. Sega has begun a new practice of buying exclusive release windows for a select AAA third-party title. Who is the first game to release under the scheme, somewhat ahead of the PC and PlayStation game? The game is a first-person corridor shooter, okay, Doom clone, set in a world of ancient Egyptian magic and mysticism. Now, see the movie Stargate or Your Mother for further reference. What are you thinking? Did you invent the Your Mom tagline? Is this what's going on here?
I'm pretty certain we invented the phrase casual gamer.
Really?
Yeah, I'm certain we did. I didn't hear it before we started using it.
Casual gamer and Your Mom will start with Digitiser. Can you name the game?
No, I don't. I remember the game. I remember it really clearly, but I can't remember the name.
If anyone remembers the game now, put your hand up. Check. I have this hand here. What is it?
N2.
Are we giving them that? Yeah, that was it. Excellent. Well, can we have, you have won a t-shirt. Well done, mate.
I should warn you that we left the t-shirts in the green room before I came on, and when we went to get them, they were damp. So I don't know what happened. We left them in the corner, so I don't know if Dave Proud weaned them or something.
Someone clearly loves Digitiser a bit
Sorry,
too
they're
much.
damp. It doesn't smell dampness, so it might just be water. Might just be water.
So if you want to win a damp Digitiser t-shirt, let's see if you can beat Paul. Oh, this is the final one. Okay, it's on the PlayStation. Look, Dad, is the PlayStation doing an impression of a Konami platformer on the SNES? Do you love me, Daddy? Yes, little one. That is indeed the case. Though you see, it's no bad thing. Why? Because we love you. Emulating the likes of platform shoot oblasts. Again, have you invented that phrase? Shoot oblast? Like Gunstar Heroes and Sparks, it makes it stupid, but it can't disguise the playability. Can you name the... I thought this was the hardest one. Can you name the game?
I've got a clue. Could be anything, couldn't it?
That's why we have it. So, has anybody got a hand up if anyone... Got a hand over there? Stick to your first one, okay? It is indeed Rapid Reload, a damp t-shirt over here. Well done. Well done. Not bad, 1 out of 3. It's not too bad, is it?
It was 20 years ago.
Not bad at all. Okay, just actually on the reviews thing, just on the reviews thing, seeing as you point out that Digitiser at its height was getting 1.5 million views, right, at a time when I believe PlayStation magazine in its height was circulating about 120,000. So, you know, you're huge. I just wondered, seeing as I presume you were sent the games to review. You didn't have to go buy them, you were sent them. Were PR people desperate for you to review them? Or were they a little bit concerned with your, what should we call it, your esoteric reviewing style?
Yeah, PR people just hated us. I think, I don't know. Do you love me, Daddy? They don't want, you know, it's not a quote that you can put on the box of Cannon fodder, is it? That'd be a great quote on it.
So seriously, you got 7 games, or did some companies specifically not send you games? You know, your Nintendo and stuff like that?
Yeah, the worst. Oh, you see, you're making me feel nauseous. The worst one was Sony's PR. We didn't get it to Wipeout, which, yeah, was obviously a massive game. We kept trying to get in touch with the PR guy. His name was Glenn O'Connell, and he just wasn't answering our calls, and you know, getting very frustrated. And so, because we were kind of juvenile and unprofessional, we put something out on screen saying, you know, Sony aren't sending us a copy of the big new game, and it's bad PR, O'Connell. And he rang up and went absolutely mental. But we got a copy of the game.
I'm going to move on now. You notice I've read a few of these, but this one, Paul, and I know you've not seen it for perhaps a while. Would you mind reading this one out?
Well, I'll tell you what, I didn't write that, because that was on the charts page, Wild Charts. That was actually a creation of a guy called Gavin Lambert, who did all our chips and teats and the charts and sorted out the letters for me. So I'll read it, but I didn't write it.
I'm intrigued because, I mean, obviously, kind of, you know, I don't know who's written what on those pages, but it's very much in the, well, let's just say the Digitiser style. So was it, by this stage, I think this is 1998, is that at this stage, had you got sort of a following within Teletext, or other people sort of like for it?
I don't know about a following in there, because they all hated us. I mean, literally, that's not even an exaggeration on me being a paranoid, insecure idiot. Teletext literally hated us. I say us, literally hated me. But I had a mate, Gavin, who did that, who worked actually at Teletext when I started working from home shortly after Tim got fired. So, yeah, the sub-editors, the main editors, they just didn't get it, and they just thought that we were constantly sneaking in, you know, Easternless characters with penises for the head.
Which you were constantly sneaking in films.
Yes. I mean, there were times when we weren't. I mean, that's what egged me on, because we got this reputation fairly early on, probably because of the epilepsy game and no lemons there. And that's something I thought, well, if you're seeing things that aren't there, well, I'm going to put them in. Yeah, and I remember one time I got told to take off, you know, you see down the bottom, you have the links, like Children of the Damned, page 114, which is the kids section. We refer to it. And I remember one time I had down the bottom, finger the index, and I genuinely, see you laughing, I genuinely didn't mean anything by it, but I had the senior sub-editor ring me up and say, right, you've got to take that off. And I said, why? I said, you know, we've all got an index finger. And he said, look, you know what I'm talking I'm not going to say what he said next.
Bear in mind, is that I've spent the last week or so looking through literally hundreds of pages, and there is this bizarreness that at the bottom of the screen sometimes it says, you know, win a holiday, and sometimes, you just put, page 160 hippies, 480 beatniks, it's just you.
Don't even know what sections those were. 480 might have been the music, I don't know. Who knows?
But sometimes you refer to a character called Bamba that just what? What were you doing?
Who was he? Weird character.
Okay, we'll move on to the next slide. Which the reason I wanted to put this one up is as with magazines in general, you did encourage interaction with your audience. There was competition. When you just look at the question for this competition, which is to win a copy of 11 guests. What would happen if you told 11 guests a joke about chalk? So, did anyone enter this competition? What is the right answer?
What makes us laugh? I remember we did a competition, I think it was something about a hat, but I think it was related to, it was an Echo the Dolphin game. And the kid won, I don't know who gave away a copy of the game or whatever it was, but it was something about design a hat for Echo the Dolphin. And some little kid wrote in and won because she said she'd make him wear a crash helmet because he'd think it was a ball, and that made us laugh.
Tell us a little bit about, were you getting a lot of letters? Did you think, we've got a huge fan base here? Was it, every morning you came in and like, oh, look what we've got this time? What was it like?
Yeah, well, I mean, when we worked there, when I actually worked in the house at Teletext, there was no email, so we got a big stack every day, and then when I started working from home, I remember, we go wild child, would drop, he was around the corner from me, would drop a selection of letters from that day, because we had too many for me to read through a whole, so we used to cherry pick them. So we might have lots of the one side, which would have been great, but
obviously this is pre-internet days of teletext. I don't, apart from you modelling yourself on Mr T, I don't think your image ever came up there. Were you totally anonymous? I mean, did anyone know it was you that was doing it? Did anyone come to your house, mess about with your bins, and say, you're Mr Biffo that writes Digitiser, or were you just totally anonymous?
Well, yeah, relatively anonymous. There was, I get spotted at game events when some guy, the son came up and said mock to me. And that's who where man's daddy was. And then I quickly went on Games Master looking fat and unfashionable as I was.
Totally as I was.
Yeah, and that was, they put me on there as Paul Rose, and that was the point at which I think people kind of linked the two together. Being Mr Biffo was an attempt to be anonymous, says the man sitting on the stage with a microphone in his hand.
Thanks for that. Okay, now, while you might have been anonymous, some of the people that wrote for Digitiser weren't. Can we have the first one? This is, I think in terms of the limited palette there, I think you've done a cracking write from Violet Berlin, a well-known games journalist and TV games presenter. And just tell us, how did Violet get involved with Digi?
Violet was a fan. We were at the ECTS, which is the European Consumer Trade Show, and she wrangled an excuse to meet with us. And we became really good friends with her. Went to LA with her and Norway. But no, she was great. Violet's very lovely. I haven't seen her in years or spoken to her. She might not be lovely, she's probably horrible now, but she was very lovely.
So we've gone from the very lovely, there was also someone else who was on. Now, I believe that's your rendition of the Stuart Campbell. I'd just like to say, did you spend a long time just trying to get his flat top absolutely spot on?
Looks more like Tintin's kind of weird curl, or classic pins. With legs. Actually, it looks like E.T. from the Atari VCS game. Sorry, I've got totally sidetracked there by Stuart Campbell's curl.
What did you make of Stuart? Were you mates?
I never knew him that well, but we met at a few games events. He would chat on the phone because we had to, because he was doing stuff for us. But yeah, we never done a hung-out social.
Never hung out with a flat top. Okay. Now, while Stuart Campbell can sometimes divide opinion, so could Digitiser, and whilst you had a very loyal following, you mentioned that some people in teletext didn't like you at all. And I understand that sort of around 2001, when teletext was in a bit of trouble because their holiday revenue had fallen off because of the terrorist attacks of 9/11, is that you were told by an editor to make Digitiser, I think the word was bland. Would you like to tell us about that little episode?
I don't know if he used the word bland. He told us they brought us a new feature centre, a new deputy feature centre, and I was taken into a room and told that Digitiser excluded people and wasn't funny, and we had to lose all the bizarre humour, and oh, by the way, we're cutting it down for 3 days a week and slashing your salary and that. So, I mean, it was literally one of the most horrible professional experiences of my life, because they played good cop, bad cop. The feature centre was really nice, and then there was this horrible gnome of a man who was just so rude to me. I mean, just like, he'd never met me before, and was just astonishingly kind of nasty about digging. But hey, it all worked out for the best.
You did, I mean, you could have just walked out there, but you did.
I had a mortgage, I had a mortgage and kind of kids to support. It wasn't an option to just quit, it was, I needed money going.
But I understand that actually it was worth sticking to it, because after, I don't know, 6 months, a year, I'm not quite sure, you tell us, but thanks to your fan base, they managed to relent. So tell us about that.
They got me in for another meeting, it was probably about 10 months later, after Digi just put something really planned and we started doing press releases for the best part of the year. And in that year, the letters hadn't stopped. I mean, literally, they must have had thousands of letters of people saying that, it's bring back the humour, bring back the characters. So they called me in for a meeting, they were talking about kind of redesigning, Digitiser and the Gmail stuff. Then it was with one of the features editors, not the same one who was good cop, and this horrible little gnome of a man.
So the gnome was...
He was in the meeting. He said nothing throughout the meetings. He had the meetings, it was all very civil, they were very nice, it was just strange. And as I was leaving, we'd like you to bring back all the characters of human.
Now you must have felt validated there. That must have been a great day to be at TV.
It was good, yeah. I was like actually validated more by kind of returning my salary to what it had been before, which they didn't do.
Okay, can't have it all. And so you did carry on, but then in 2003, you were told that there was going to be some changes at Digitiser, and I think that was the point that you decided to call it a day. Was that a difficult decision?
Well, it was. This is children here.
But this is what Paul put up on the very last day of Digitiser. But it's just a worm. It's turn of the worm.
It's just being said to us. See, if I was a sub-editor, I wouldn't have cleared that for going out. What was the question?
Yeah, the question was, was it a difficult decision? It had been part of your daily life for 10 years. Was giving up Digitiser, did it leave a big hole in your life?
It wasn't a difficult decision at all. I mean, I made the decision in literally 30 seconds, because I had Gavin Lambert, God bless him, he rang me up and said, look, there's something going down here. I think they're going to axe Digitiser. And I had so much grief from them over the years, probably with complete justification. I brought it upon myself, let's face it. But actually, I was sort of just a bit worn down, but I thought, oh, here we go, I'm going to be dragged in again, and I can't rely on this anymore as my income. So Gary warned me that this was going to happen, and then the horrible gnome of the feature centre rang me up and said, yeah, we're coming for a meeting. And so I put the phone down and I thought, no, I'm not doing it. So I literally rang him straight back and said I'd quit. More or less that, I'm going to quit Digitiser. And he then said, oh, actually, we're going to talk to you about expanding the section and giving you a pay rise. So,
well, you certainly went out with a memorable climax, do you see? So you left Digitiser behind, but you didn't quite leave games behind. you started writing a regular column, I think roughly at the same time, a little bit afterwards, for Edge magazine. How did that come about?
I was interviewed by Steve Cohen at Edge, and it was shortly before I quit. And I didn't know I was going to quit, but something was obviously, building in me. And then, so I did this interview with Edge, then I had a good phone call from the loan. And I don't know, somehow everything kind of thing, I was starting to write scripts for TV, and that seemed to be starting to happen. So, yeah, so I quit, and they put the Edge feature that Mr Biffo, a tiny little bit at the bottom, saying Mr Biffo's actually left Digitiser since giving this interview. And then I just dropped them an email. I dropped Tony Martin an email and said about the column. So I thought, well, I still want to write about games. I still want to see that. That's not a very interesting story at all. So I climbed through the valley of Gamar.
I'm interested that you've gone from Digitiser, which, in your own words, teletext is the scrag end of journalism. That's your words, not mine. And you've gone to what's normally considered, well, country politics, one of the best or the most pretentious, it depends where you stand on this, magazine. So were you given any kind of editorial diktat, you need to be more highbrow, or could you just write whatever you wanted?
No, there was no interference except for one time, and I'm just wondering if you're going to lead on to that. No, they let me do whatever I wanted, apart from one time.
But you're not going to tell me this one time?
Some of you may know this is about as embarrassing a public commission as anything. My favourite band is Marillion, the prog rock. Don't laugh! Unbelievable. My girlfriend's from Australia, and she doesn't come with all this baggage. She doesn't get why Marillion are fun anymore. So
you had to go across the other side of the globe to find a partner that wouldn't judge you. Exactly. Well done, mate. Well done.
So anyway, every 2 years we laugh, but this is where, if you like, I go to a Marillion weekend in Holland, where we listen to Marillion for 3 days and get drunk. So I can still hear laughing on my own. Anyway, I happened to be at this Marillion weekend, I think it was in 2007, and it was during the afternoon, they were having a raffle, and unbelievably, Phil Allison, the head of PlayStation Europe, got up on stage suddenly, looked like I was going to pound on, going to grab the microphone off the band and said, I'm auctioning a PlayStation 2. PlayStation 3. It was horrible. It was horrible. I thought, bloody hell, this has happened for a reason. I'm in this room with, the head of PlayStation. I'm kind of like a college reg. I've got to write about this. So I did write back in a really horrible, sneery way, which I really not hold to. I don't know whether he was just caught up in the moment or off his face on ecstasy or something. I don't know. But anyway, he was up on stage. So he's wrong. That was a completely baseless accusation. I've lost the thread now. Anyway, yes, so I sent this column to Edge. Edge said, we can't print that. And I said, okay, do you mind if I put it on my blog? And they said, no, that's absolutely fine. So I put it on my blog and it became like a massive international news story. And it was just horrible. So I felt really bad for Phil Allison. I don't know why it was worse. It became kind of a big story like that, with it just being Edge, but it was something.
Thank you. So you stayed involved with games, writing about them, and you also met 2 chaps who are from around here. Who are these fellas, and how did you get involved with them?
That's the lovely Pickford brothers who employed me to write a script for a game of theirs called Future Tactics. And I knew them from Digitiser. They'd been done a few times, and I just thought, yes, lovely fellas. I'm not seeing them in years either. You
wrote the script for that particular game. Have you ever considered getting a job in games development? And if so, what would be your ideal role?
Yeah, there's part of me that wants to do it. I think nowadays, I was going to say, I don't know if I want a job as such. I'd rather want to do it on my own terms. So I'd love to do indie games. I've got a few stupid ideas. So I have to do it all with control freaks.
if you want to do any networking later, feel free. Okay, my next slide, please. Now, the problem that I have always had with Dirty Den is that he's not dirty enough. Paul, is there any way that you can make Dirty Den say the C word?
Yes, I did.
How? How did you do that, Paul?
Believe it or not, I wrote one episode only of EastEnders, and I can't imagine why. In which I got Dirty Den to utter the phrase "Big Constable." And Leslie Grantham, God bless him, basically hyphenated the word. And it went out on BBC One. What a lot of people don't know about that episode is that one of the policemen he was referring to was called DCI Kister, which is the name of a character that Leslie Grantham played in Doctor Who.
It's trivia. You have actually, since leaving Digi and games, is that you have written for television and 4 o'clock for My Parents Are Aliens, Danny's Castle, lots of kids TV. I just wondered if there was any parallels with the kind of stuff you wrote for Digitiser and what you've written for TV, or are they very different skills?
I don't believe it or not, actually, in that EastEnders episode, there was a reference to Zombie Dave at one point, and that got taken out. I'm serious, because there was a Zombie Dave's Pizza Company that featured in it, in one of the earlier drafts. I don't know, kids TV, I don't want to kind of put dodgy stuff in there and kind of too much personal stuff, because it feels that's not appropriate for the audience, so I'm sort of more well-behaved when it comes to my kids TV work.
Very pleased to hear it. I'm talking about being well-behaved, and this next slide, I just simply want to say, can you explain?
This was a book that I wrote, well, it's not a book that I wrote, that's a photograph of me dressed as Loopy Lisa. Quite a book that I wrote in which I lured men into honey traps and
So, can you say that again? You lured men into honey traps. Would you like to flesh that out a bit?
What can I say? I would engage them in chats on AOL, and I got a book out of it.
Thanks, Paul.
And I sent them photographs of myself looking like that.
Can I say, when you sent the photograph, is that the point that the conversation ceased, or did some indeed continue with sending you film?
Yeah, some of them would indeed continue asking me to show them my boobs.
I think that book is still available on Amazon. Is that right?
Yeah, they're 1p. I'm not joking. It's literally available for 1p on. Don't get any royalties either, because the company went bust after it was
Okay, so our final slide brings us up to date. And this is Digitiser 2000. And Paul, they did say never go back. So, what made you set up this website, kind of in the spirit of Digi from back in the 90s?
I just missed it. I mean, I missed it so much. I think right now, I've written for kids TV, and I'm surprised you haven't mentioned the dog film, actually.
The dog film? Oh, the dog. I thought there was something far more filthy when you said the dog film.
I've written a lot of stuff where it felt like kind of quite compromised, shall we say, and I wasn't like saying it was my own. But I didn't know what. And then there is a story behind, I can't mention his name. I'm not going to mention his name, but there used to be a character we had on Digitiser called Cyber X, and he was based on a genuine, real games journalist. And I happened to be reading, I'm not a Nazi by the way, even though I said I was Hitler. I happened to be reading the Daily Mail online, and there was a story in there about a journalist who'd gone bankrupt. And for some reason that led me to her Twitter account where she was talking about the situation. And then I noticed that one of the comments on replies to her on Twitter was by a familiar name. It was the name of this. I thought that can't be the same guy. And so I kind of went down the rabbit hole, shall we say. And it was him, and he's now a motivational speaker and life coach, and he self-publishes his TP. And they're so lacking in self-awareness. He's like the last person that would want giving you kind of like life advice, you know. And his basic thing is to, yeah, do it, yeah. I mean, videos on him online. You can probably find him. Anyway, I'm rambling. And I think I showed it to my girlfriend. I don't know, I just wrote something. CyberX, what he'd be doing now with his motivational speaking. And she really liked it. I thought, God, I've missed this. I've really missed writing. So I had a website, and I stuck it on the website, and then I thought, well, okay, I've got a Twitter account. I've just done it public. It was painfully terrifying because I've been banished for so many years.
My final question is, does it feel like the old days? Is this a bit of a full circle kind of moment?
Well, I never did this in the old days.
I don't know what this is.
Yeah, it does, I love it. I love doing it so much, and we've got people support on Patreon and PayPal, and it's really lovely of them. And I think one of the best things in life that you can have is being surrounded by people who let you be you, and that is so true. People that read Digitiser, the Digital 2000, is they let me write as me, and that is a lovely gift to have in your life.
Well, you love doing it, and we love having you. Ladies and gentlemen, can we give a round of applause? Mr Biffo! Okay, we have a roving mic somewhere here. So if anyone would like to ask Paul, Mr Biffo, any questions about any part of his career, in the traditional way, stick your hand up, and we'll come around with a microphone. So if anyone wants... There's one over there.
Our guest, whose name is legend. What is best in life?
What is best in life? Wow, God, you've got to start easy, why don't you? No, I think it's exactly what I just said. Being this is not funny, is it? Me saying kind of something decent to people. Yeah, being surrounded by people that love you for who you really are.
This is becoming a bit confessional, isn't it? Thank you very much. Have we got any more questions in the audience? We would love to hear from you. Yay! We've got a chap over here.
I'm going to retire today and get replaced by 10 years younger. What advice would you give me?
Can you possibly
If you were going to retire today and you were replaced by a Paul who's 10 years younger, what advice would you give you, 10 years younger? This is like watching your pages load, by the way. You're now going to give us the 5th answer out of 10 pages, and we'll have to wait for the first bit.
The fast texting. I'll tell you to stay away from my bins.
Hey, I see what you did there. Okay, we've got any more questions in the audience? We've got one here.
Hello, Paul.
Hello.
I just want to talk about Zombie Dave, one of my favourite characters. Who came up with him, and how did he get this kind of obsession with porn? And did the higher-ups ever catch on to that?
No.
We need to talk about Zombie Dave. There's a book there.
Well, yes. Yes, I've got them. No, they never, ever got Zombie Dave. They would get stuff that wasn't near the knuckle. I remember one time, when it was the finger the index thing, I got told to take out a reference to the 3 R's. If anyone's old enough to know what the 3 R's are, they're reading, writing, arithmetic. And I still don't understand to this day. The explanation I got wasn't, kids, they've got R's, well, it's a bit like R's. It's like, well, but no, Zombie Dave really never got picked up on. And I don't know where it came from either. It was, just an excuse to smuggle snuts into digital.
Thank you, Pastor Zombie Dave. We've got time for a couple more questions. Stick your hand up if you like. Hey, we've got a chap down the front.
What would you say was the most memorable press trip that you went on, and why? What happened?
LA with Virgin Interactive, because we spent a day and a half in the Virgin's offices and then spent the rest of the week in LA. Tim, we were there, it was Tim, Violet Berlin and her boyfriend, and tin weed up the side of Clive Barker's house once.
Talking about PR, George, did you get to go to an Oasis gig? And didn't Ocean took an Oasis gig, and I heard were there any additional benefits that they threw in for that evening, Paul?
My first time in Manchester, the Lord leave it at that.
His first time in Manchester. We've got time for one more question if anyone would like to finally quiz Mr Biffo before we let him go on his merry way. One last question. Yay there.
So what is the worst thing you've ever reviewed?
The worst game you've ever reviewed?
The lowest score on a game was Mary Shelley's Frankenstein on the Game Boy, which we gave, I think, 0%. Which then turned it into, it was Kenneth Branagh's Mary Shelley's. I don't know. Anyway, that based on the film, it's just a platform. It's ridiculous. Yeah, we gave it nothing.
And on that note, let's not give Paul a nothing. Can we give a big round of applause, not only for today, but also for the entertainment over the many, many years. Cheers, thank you, Paul. Before I go, can I just say also a big thank you to Martin, who not only did all the art here, but also put together these fantastic pages as well. We're back, me and Martin are back tomorrow at 1 o'clock, when Warren Davis, the creator of Cuba, will be on the stage. The next thing that's happening here is